Hello. Welcome to MK Recaps. The father sends the naughty son to a special boarding school, aka a torture center, where they learn to control aggression. Show the channel some love by liking and subscribing to our channel. Based on a true story, the film begins with the main character, teenager Fran, chatting with his best friend and girlfriend via video chat. He drinks beer in front of the computer and smokes. Suddenly, his father Luis comes into the room. He has to get up early, and loud noise prevents him from falling asleep. The teenager rudely snaps at the old man to leave, but the father does not leave. He tries to talk to his son while his friends wait patiently. In the morning, sleepy and irritated, Luis goes to work to manage the store. The loafer son is having fun at this time. Having dropped out of school, he smokes with friends, listens to music, thumps, and caresses a girl. Later, the father is informed that Fran has long abandoned school, and then they call from the hospital and ask him to pick up his son, who got into a fight. The man has to go to the emergency room, where the parents of Miguel, Fran's friend, are already waiting. They speak in the spirit that Fran is a bad influence on their child. After waiting for the end of the inspection, Luis takes his son out of the hospital. He tries to talk to him on the way home, but in the underground garage, he breaks down and wants to leave. The man catches up with his son, but the teenager yells at him and gives him a slap in the face, after which he runs away. When Luis returns home in the evening, his son is no longer there. He is dumped at the disco party with friends, dancing, drinking, and sniffing illegal substances. The father, alone, lights candles on a birthday cake. His son is 17 years old. Worried that he cannot find a common language with the child, Luis goggles on the internet ways to communicate with teenagers. He stumbles upon an advertisement for the Simca program, a special psychological correction for aggressive behavior. Parents of difficult teenagers share their experiences, how difficult it was for them to communicate with children before and how easy it came after. While watching the videos, Luis does not notice how time flies, and now, at night, the stoned Fran wanders, staggering along the corridor. The guy freezes at the half-open door to his father's room, but he turns off the light to avoid another unpleasant conversation. The next day, Luis goes to the SIMC presentation. An imposing coach delivers an uplifting speech about how discipline can help instill in spoiled kids real values and a sense of purpose for a successful business. While he is listening to the performance, the son is hanging on the phone, drinking alcohol. Miguel, at the instigation of his mother, disowns his friend, and the girl hints that they had nothing serious, so it is useless to make far-reaching plans. Frustrated, Fran continues to pour grief. This is exactly how his father finds him in the evening. At night, two specially trained people drag a half-naked teenager out of the bedroom. He fights back, kicks, screams, and calls for his father. But Luis has already prepared a suitcase with things and escorts his son to the boarding school at the door. The guy is thrown into a minivan and driven along a picturesque serpentine road away from the city. There he is met by Father Oscar, the main educator. The man is unhappy that the newcomer is barefoot and half-naked. The pupils must observe discipline and act dressed. He also does not like the handcuffs on the teenager. Oscar orders them to be removed. Fran takes this gesture as friendly and calls the guard names. But the educator instantly restores the social hierarchy. He twists the arm of the impudent child, pokes his muzzle at the wall, and reads the basic rules, among which respectful silence in the presence of elders are obligatory. The right to speak is a privilege. Fran is shaved bald, given a uniform, and taken to the rest of the group. Children with blood marks on their chins watch the daily video, greeting the newcomer with a rehearsed line. When Fran tries to talk to the neighbor, Father Oscar presses pause, and the kids jump up, reciting the rule of silence. Discouraged by such coherence, the hero looks around dejectedly, realizing that they will not fuss with him here. The further routine includes strictly regulated useful work for the benefit of society, the collection of clothespins, as well as group meals in the dining room. Fran is eyeing new comrades, trying to memorize the texts of the obligatory chants. They are shown on TV commercials in which psychologists drive theses about acceptable behavior into their heads. Nando's father also stands out among the teachers. Oscar reprimands him for his appearance and chewing gum, with which he sets a bad example for the pupils. Teenagers also talk with a psychologist who asks them not only about hidden fears, but also about relationships with their parents. Fran admits that he misses his father, but he is saddened by the fact that Luis never really showed fatherly love, including for his mother, who left the family when he was young. The teaching staff of the boarding school, led by Oscar, is discussing the upcoming Freedom Day, a kind of holiday for pupils designed to show what their life can be like outside the institution. Nando, like new, does not know what it is, and his colleagues lightly tease him, to which he reacts with a pathetic speech. Later, during lunch, Nando takes out his anger on one of the pupils. He beats his face on the table while the rest of the children hurriedly eat, pretending that nothing is happening. During the educational process, Nando gets carried away and fills the child's eyes with pepper gas. The director of the orphanage does not like this. Rich parents do not pay money to have their children maimed. Oscar manages to hush up the matter, getting by with a light reprimand to the subordinate with a fixing blow to the face on the table. Soon, Fran successfully learns the rules. However, he is not yet familiar with punishments, so one day, after lights out, he gets out of the room. Unnoticed by the guards, he descends to the floor below, where he finds a department of sensory deprivation, complete or partial isolation from the outside world. Even simple conversations are forbidden here. In one of the rooms, the hero sees a teenager tied to a gurney. They close his eyes and ears, leaving him alone with his thoughts. Fran takes off his mask and headphones, and the poor fellow screams for him to kill him out of mercy. Frightened by this reaction, Fran runs back, but the guards notice the escape from the bedroom. An alarm is raised. The hunt begins for him. The hero hides in a corner, and when a guard enters, he rushes at him and beats him into a bloody mess until the help has twisted him. For this act, Father Oscar sentences the whole group to punishment. The children are placed face down on the floor, resting their chin on the floor. While they lie still, the guards turn on the lights and loud music from time to time, a situation reminiscent of an episode of Pokemon that causes epileptic seizures. After serving his sentence, Fran gets his blood mark on his chin. At the same time, the children's parents gather for their own rehabilitation program led by psychologist Helena. Luis says that he cannot find a common language with his son, to which the doctor replies that the dialogue is the participation of two parties. Therefore, not only children must learn obedience, but parents must also participate in their lives. As a successful example, Helena cites Sandra and her parents. The girl graduated from the program. Adults tell how their life has changed after the return of their daughter, but the story ends with the girl pissing and her mother takes her away. Returning home, Luis, as advised by the psychologist, enters his son's room. On his computer, he watches a music video in which his son is fooling around with his friends. Luis himself flashes among the frames. The offspring secretly took him off at work. The video brings a smile to the father, and the next morning he goes to the boarding school to pick up his son. However, Oscar shows him a video of the beating of a guard and convinces him that Fran is not yet ready to adapt in society. When watching the next video, the young man makes a joke that the teachers hear. The group is led to another punishment because they do not delve into the theses repeated over and over again. They will have to spend more than a day on their feet with their hands tied and blindfolded. Only the one who lasts the longest will pass the test. The rest will be sent to the sensor isolator. Those who squat down are escorted out by the guards. At the same time, parents undergo another training on mutual understanding. Luis here gets to know Sandra's parents better. They are worried about their daughter's mental health, but they hope that the training will help. The next day, the remaining teenagers are fed, but portions are one less than the captives. Unable to agree, the children swear and the guards take all the food from them. Closer to the night when the second day began, Helena came to the cage. A woman films the guys on video in order to collect evidence of the cruelty of the methods used in the boarding school. Nando catches her and takes her to Oscar, but the leader sees nothing wrong with data leakage. All these methods are legal. On the third day, Fran is the last one left on his feet and returns to a measured life on schedule. Meanwhile, Luis develops a warm relationship with Sandra's mother. They have lunch together and their acquaintance develops into a romantic interest. But while she's kissing Luis in the car park, her daughter is watching videos of torture posted by Helena. Unable to withstand the memories of what she experienced, the girl throws herself from the roof right in front of her father, immersed in work. The principal reprimands Oscar for leaking information. This leads to tougher rules and regulations in the boarding school. Pupils are literally driven into physical exercises. Some feel sick right in the gym. Nando makes the delinquent clean up the vomit with their bare hands. He also continues to practice beatings with the tacit consent of the rest of the teaching staff. All this leads to the fact that at a certain moment Fran rebels. He freezes in place and does not leave the dining room. Oscar tells him to be dragged to the sensory isolator, that they tie the guy up and cover both his eyes and ears. After some time, due to a lack of information from the outside, the brain begins to generate hallucinations, images caused from the past. The torture ends when Freedom Day arrives. Men's and women's groups gather in the gymnasium to waltz. Exhausted Fran is also brought in, but he does not participate, but looks from the side, sitting on a chair. Pupils, breaking into pairs, waltz on command, but one of the guys, looking at Fran, who dared to open rebellion, freezes. His example is followed by others. Despite the screams and blows of Oscar's father, the event is disrupted under the contented smirk of Fran. Nando even had to wrestle the boss before he crippled anyone in hysterics. Louis admits that he wants to take his son away from the boarding school, and the woman says that this is the right decision after what they did to her daughter's psyche. The next day, the man arrives at the boarding school. Fran is taken out immediately, without even trying to dissuade his father. The teenager silently gets into the car without even saying hello to Luis. On the way home, he stares blankly out the window. At home, he meets with a girlfriend, asking how she is doing. He does not spread about his adventures in the boarding school. He only regrets that there are still many children left in the dungeons there. Fran does not want to talk to his father. However, he has also stopped being rude. The guy gets rid of the memorabilia from his room, thus breaking the connection with his past self. He does not accept gifts from his father, and in his free time, he yells, leaning out of the window into the rainy emptiness of the big city. But one day, standing in the kitchen, he reflexively repeats the slogans from the boarding school, which provokes a dialogue. Fran accuses his father of deliberately handing him over to sadists for torture. Luis objects that he was deceived, after which he reads a monologue, confessing to his son that it is also not easy for him to raise him alone after his mother left him, considering both of them unnecessary. And it's hard for a man to admit this, and the son only aggravates the situation by blaming his father. In the next scene, they drive silently in a car to a house. Luis comes out to give the owners documents. Because of the viewing angle, it is not clear to whom exactly. As they drive off, Fran asks if it was Mom. Instead of answering, the father gets out of the car and walks away in the rain. The son catches up with him and they stand together, hugging and hiding their tears in the rain. That's all. Subscribe to the channel and leave your opinion in the comments. Also, do not forget to subscribe to my Facebook, where I duplicate all videos, including full recap. The link will be in the description. Best wishes.